Man, I gotta be honest, I was disappointed in Godzilla. I mean, he apparently is a woman. He lays eggs. He doesn't even breathe fire. Matthew Broderick is popping jokes every couple minutes. That movie was disappointing. I gotcha. Godzilla, the 2014 version, is directed by Gareth Edwards and stars Aaron Taylor Johnson, Bryan Cranston, Ken Watanabe, David Strathairn, Elizabeth Olsen. Big cast of very talented people in this movie, and I was extremely excited to see it because, it's Godzilla. That's really all I have to say. But my childhood was actually very rooted in Godzilla. I watched the original one a lot when I was a kid. I loved Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and Godzilla vs. King Kong and Rodan and all those movies. I watched them over and over again. I had all the VHS tapes. I've loved Godzilla ever since I was a kid, and even when I was a little kid, I did like the American version. Then I grew up and realized it's really not that great. Thus, I was very excited for a more realistic take on the character of Godzilla because that's what this movie is promoted as, a more grounded take of Godzilla, and they definitely accomplished that very well in this movie. Without getting too much into plot details, we have Bryan Cranston, who definitely believes this is a real thing that is happening. The government is trying to hide from people. Ken Watanabe is researching it. Aaron Taylor Johnson plays Bryan Cranston's son in the film, and they kind of all come together as a core to try to figure out what they can do about certain things that are rising up out of the earth and this other thing that's rising up out of the earth, and how they can make this all be okay for the millions of people on earth while these giant things are now walking around. This movie was epic. And I don't use that word too often because it annoys me. It's an overused word. People are always like, oh, that was epic. Rarely ever is that thing that they're calling epic actually epic. Godzilla was epic. This is an incredible looking movie. I mean, I'm not just talking about CGI. This movie is directed extremely well. The shots are breathtaking. There are moments in the movie where my mouth actually dropped. My eyes were watering. Like the first time you see Godzilla in this movie, I was like almost crying. It was so well done. My inner Godzilla fan was extremely happy in that moment. This movie looks so amazing though. The shots that Gareth Edwards did in this film are really beautiful. He has a very, very cool way of shooting a movie, and he has a very human perspective in regards to looking at these creatures. And that is the best way that you can sell a giant creature in a movie, is show it from a human standpoint. There's this incredible shot in the film where you see a character's viewpoint of Godzilla as a human, and it just sold the size of it and the massive destructive capabilities of this animal. And that's the other thing I loved about this movie, was it portrays the creatures in this film as animals. They're not cool CGI monster things. They're animals. What would they be doing? Is it their goal to cause destruction amongst humankind? No, they're just animals trying to survive. That's one of the things I loved about this movie, the more realistic take on what would actually happen if something like this rose out of the ocean. Bryan Cranston in this movie is fantastic. His performance is so filled with emotion. There just wasn't enough of his character in the actual film. I wanted to see more of his character because he added so much to the movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson in the film is a more conventional character, and some of his human drama did feel a little bit like we've seen this before, but I do think he did a really good job in the movie, and his character is the perspective of the audience. We experience this entire event through him. I wish he was a little bit more of an emotive character that you could really get behind. I do think he was very good in the movie though, and I'm not saying I didn't like his character because I did. I just wanted a little more emotional punch from him. Ken Watanabe is always good. David Strathairn is also always good. Elizabeth Olsen was also good in the movie. All the acting in the movie was very realistic. There wasn't that one character that you were like, yeah, he's totally over the top and he's hamming it up. Everyone's taking it seriously, and that seriousness is very needed in this movie because it's sold very straightforward. Like, this is happening. How are we going to deal with it? The score by Alexander Desplat is also fantastic. I love the way this movie sounds, the sound effects. The movie has a great first act. I really got behind it. Then an event happens, which I will not spoil, that I thought detracted from the emotional weight of the film. And then we didn't get quite as much Godzilla as you might expect. Then the third act happened, and I actually cheered a few times. Like, that doesn't usually happen with me. I'm usually very quiet, I'm paying attention, and I don't want to make too much noise. But during the third act of this movie, I was cheering, I was applauding. It is so satisfying. The final act of this film is teased a couple times during the movie. And that's another problem I did have with it, and I think that some people will have, I think the major complaint people might have walking out of this movie is that there actually wasn't quite enough Godzilla for a while. They teased these big fight scenes, and then you're kind of left hanging, and then finally you get some real meat, and it's awesome. But during the second act of the film, I won't spoil it, I won't get into it, but there was a scene that they were setting up, and then it didn't happen, and I was like, oh, I wish that happened because I would have loved to have seen that. I really enjoyed the characters in the film. I love the human perspective of this event, showcasing how a human would deal with this larger-than-life, quite literally, thing. That is one of the best parts of this movie. The movie is actually very eerie, suspenseful, and kind of scary. There's a couple tributes, I thought anyway, to Jurassic Park throughout there, and that's a very good example I can use because Jurassic Park took dinosaurs and made it as plausible as it's ever been in a movie. This movie does that for Godzilla. And when Godzilla throws down in this movie, I was cheering and clapping. It was awesome. My only complaints with the film are that second act needing just a little bit more of Godzilla being awesome. All the actors do a great job. The movie looks incredible. It sounds incredible. And my word, the third act is mind-blowingly fantastic. I'm going to give Godzilla an A-. Definitely check this one out in theaters. It is a theater experience movie for sure. But don't go into this film expecting Pacific Rim. And what I mean by that is don't expect a monster throwdown every few minutes because you will be disappointed. This is more like the original Godzilla film where there's a lot of nuclear subplot and subtext to the movie where it has a lot to say about mankind's view of nature. That is definitely the main themes of this movie, the more frightening aspect of mankind and nature. Not so much, let's see creatures fighting. You know what I mean? So if you go into this movie expecting that, you're going to be disappointed. What'd you think of Godzilla? If you saw the film, I'm very interested in knowing what you thought because it's Godzilla and I kind of want to talk about it because it's awesome. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.